2011 Suzuki SX4. Where to find that infamous crankshaft position sensor. So I believe after 2010 and below models, it's behind the transmission bell housing. So you actually have to remove the engine and the transmission from the car. But in this model, after 2010, it's the J20B engine. And I bought the service manual for this car, and it was wrong about the location. So there's normally an airbox here. There's a 10mm bolt. You take the airbox off. There's a hose that goes to the throttle body. You disconnect that hose and you throw it to the side. And then you disconnect the throttle body, you put it to the side. There's a bunch of nuts and 12mm bolts that connect the intake to the head. You remove the intake. Good time to change out those gaskets. But you remove the intake and you can move it to the side. It's actually really hard to get out. I think I may have to either remove some of this trim to be able to get it out all the way. But I don't need to get it out. We're okay. We can just move it to the side a little bit. Obviously, just look around for some hoses, some clips here and there, whatever you need to disconnect, and just move all of that out of the way. So once you do all that, you go over here to the passenger side of the vehicle. And you come down here. Here's your power steering pump. Here's your alternator down there. You see that plug that's undone? That's to the crankshaft position sensor. I'm going to turn the light on and we're going to see where it's at. Power steering pump over here. We go down. Here's our alternator. Behind the alternator, you see that plug? That's the crankshaft position sensor. Hard to see. Quite hard to get to. Realistically, it's going to be a bear. So I think to get it out, we're going to have to take the alternator out. To do that, we're going to have to go over here and loosen up the tensioner, take this belt off, and then remove some of the bolts. To the alternator, there's 2 bolts up top. There's another bolt over here. I'm just going to loosen it, not take it out all the way, and that way when the 2 bolts up top are out, that bolt is loose, the alternator can just flip like this. So we got a 14mm on the tensioner there, and I'm gonna just loosen the belt here, that way the alternator can come loose. So now I'm gonna get to these 2 bolts up top. There's this one right here, and then there's another one on this side. You can see them too, right there. Somebody's already been in here, it's already loose. So I'm gonna take those out and then flip the alternator over. I just went ahead and took that bolt out completely, and the 2 top bolts. And I'm able to move this out of the way. And you can see the sensors right there. Now we can access there. That's the sensor right there. And there's a lot of oil around it, and I'm wondering if that's what caused it to go bad. But I think there's a 10mm on there, so I'm going to get that out and then we'll take a look at it. So look at that. It's broken. And so any of you out there that have, this is what it should look like. Any of you out there that have a P0335 code, P0116 code, and a lot of people out there saying, oh, it can't be the crankshaft position sensor, it can be other things, it's not necessarily that's your problem. Go ahead. In this car, it's accessible. There's a lot of stuff you have to get off, but you can get to it, and that'll fix your problem. So like, let's say you're driving around and your RPMs stay at 0, but your car's on, and then your car shuts off, and you have limp mode, or you can't get the car to drive. This is your solution. Just go take a look at it. It's broken. Here's a new one. We'll fit it in. Make sure it fits. So now our sensor can finally fit in there. I'm gonna bolt this down. I'm gonna plug it up. I've got some dielectric grease. I'm gonna put around here. Make sure the connector stays insulated, and put it back in, assemble everything back, and we should be good to go. And that's how you change the crankshaft position sensor in a 2010 J20B Suzuki engine.